Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays, everybody. Ryan here, and we're wanting to talk about the top 10 Christmas movies that were voted on by you, the people. So, this poll was created in the 90s nostalgia group of over 300,000 followers, where over 4,000 members put their vote to the test for some of the traditional and some of the non-traditional movies that have came up over the last years. Some of my favorites are Edward Scissorhands, Chronicles of Narnia, and Krampus, but we wanted to hear what some of your favorites were. So we took a week-long poll and we brought it to the test. And so here we are, starting at number 10. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies growing up, and definitely one of the comics, is Charles Schulz's A Charlie Brown Christmas. So this is a traditional Christmas movie along the road that most of us have seen. It deals with Charlie Brown finding the meaning of Christmas and finding the spirit. I just personally love the soundtrack for the Charlie Brown Christmas, as it just had so many amazing songs, and it's just something that me and the family watch every year as a tradition. So for the poll, A Charlie Brown Christmas had just over 2% of the votes. This locked it in at the number 10 spot, but I can't wait for you to all see what we've got coming down the pipe for number 9 to 1. It's going to be some good stuff. So coming in at number 9, receiving just under 3% of the votes, is Jim Henson's The Muppet Christmas Carol. I'm sure this is one of our favorite variations of a Charles Dickens classic. Mainly for me because I am just a Muppet child through and through. I grew up on The Muppet Show, The Muppet Babies, and every variation. So watching this is just something else for me. But when you find out that James Caan would only take the role if he could treat the Muppets like they worked on the English Company Theater, and this is just something else because he wanted to create something that was real and not be comical. So, A Muppet Christmas Carol still today is one of our favorite variations, and I still tear up over Tiny Tim and the idea that life is a series of partings and greetings. So watching the scenes is just phenomenal, but one of my favorite characters in it is the variation of the Ghost of Christmas Past. This is just something else, and this character is just wonderful. So coming in at number 8 is Arnold Schwarzenegger in Jingle All The Way. So JAW is something that all of us parents understand about, is trying to find that perfect Christmas present for our child. So, Jingle All The Way talks about Schwarzenegger's character trying to find that perfect toy, which just happens to be Turbo Man. Turbo Man is the big action figure for the holiday season, and every parent has to have it underneath the tree. So, Schwarzenegger is going to go to any lengths to get it, but so is Sinbad. But did you know that this was created from the 1988 variation of the Rampage for the Cabbage Patch Babies? So coming in at number 7, we have our first unconventional Christmas movie, and my favorite is Die Hard. So this stars Bruce Willis playing the role of Detective John McClane, who is trying to rework his relationship with his lady friend, and so he goes to LA to go to her company Christmas party, which just so happens to be being held at the Nakatomi Plaza. Well, he goes there and a whole bunch of craziness erupts. Some terrorists take over the building, and he has to go ahead and take everything back. So John McClane does what John McClane does best, and he goes all cowboy on him. Yippee-ki-yay. So if you're saying this isn't a Christmas movie, look at all the Christmas references in it. For God's sake, he even went to a Christmas party and look what happened. So coming in at number 6, we have one of my favorite variations, is The Grinch. There have been tons of reiterations of The Grinch in different forms throughout the years, but the one that you all voted on at 168 votes was a 2000s variation starring Jim Carrey. So Jim Carrey did a phenomenal job in his role of the Grinch. This is just a set that we haven't seen before, and I really liked this telling of it. It was something a little bit different, and it just brought some depth to the character. And I'm going to be honest, it really made me love the Grinch even more. There were so many different impersonations and just different Carrie-isms throughout the movie that just kept me watching it. But while doing some research on this, I found out a really interesting fact that Jim Carrey credits for helping him make it through the filming of The Grinch. So Jim Carrey credits being trained by the CIA to help him on some breathing techniques and some pain management techniques to help him make it through the filming, because it took over 8 hours for him to get in and out of costume every day, 5 days a week. So this is really important to making it through the filming. So coming in at number 5 is something we have all probably had to watch more than once, is A Christmas Story. And this talks about Ralphie, and Ralphie is just like any other kid, trying to get that amazing toy that he just has to have. And that toy is the Red Ryder BB gun. Well, Ralphie's doing everything he can to get this toy, and it's just not happening. So Ralphie is going to find some different avenues. Along the way, there's some different hijinks, but he tries to talk to Santa. He tries to put in the good boy act, but he's just doing whatever he can to get that toy. But one of my favorite scenes is when the dogs eat the turkey and they have to go to the Chinese restaurant for duck. So coming in at number 4, we've got Tim Allen and the Santa Claus. So in the Santa Claus, Tim Allen inadvertently, accidentally kills the Santa. Well, he ends up having to take up the role of the Santa Claus and picking up the role that he ended up left void. So Tim Allen has to learn how to play the role of father while also trying to pick up the role of being Santa for all the kids worldwide. One of my favorite characters in it was Barnaby. And I'll tell you what, that Coco better be amazing for her having 2,000 years to perfect it. If you haven't watched Tim Allen in the new Santa Clauses, I definitely suggest you do. It's amazing. So coming in at number 3 with over 196 votes, we have Will Ferrell in Elf. And Elf talks about Buddy, who isn't your traditional elf, who was raised by his foster father and is sent on a mission to go and reunite with his biological father. So Buddy ends up leaving the North Pole, and he ends up trying to go to New York, where he ends up getting some leads on where he might be able to find his father. So his father is played by James Caan, and James Caan is just amazing. He is a brutal individual, and watching him just play side by side with Will Ferrell is something else. But did you know while filming Elf, Will Ferrell gave himself adult onset diabetes filming the spaghetti scene? We're closing in on the number 1 spot, but first we talk about Christmas Vacation. Coming in at 254 votes, we have Christmas Vacation, which talks about Clark Griswold and the Griswolds. Well, Clark is just trying to give his family his ideal perfect Christmas, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. Because every little thing that Clark tries to do, it just backfires in his face. From the lights, to the tree, to getting the Christmas bonus, to his in-laws, to Randy. It's just a shit show. Because, well, as Randy said, the shitter's full. And it's just amazing. But there are so many great parts to it. I love it. So coming in at number 1, and it wasn't even close, at almost 500 votes, we've got Coley McCulkin starring as Kevin McAllister in Home Alone. So in Home Alone, Kevin McAllister ends up getting left home alone while his massive family ends up going overseas to Europe for a Christmas vacation. So Kevin does just fine for the first day or so, but ends up having to protect the house from some robbers or the wet bandits of Marv and Harry. This is just phenomenal, and I adore Home Alone, and for it to get number 1, I love it. Not to mention, it gave us this iconic scene.